Hello and welcome to this UCAT preparation advice video. So in this video we're going to be talking about the situational judgment section of the UCAT, specifically teamwork questions. So teamwork is a really important part of being a doctor. You're going to be expected to work alongside a large variety of other health professionals, whether that's nurses or pharmacists, for example, managers, porters, and you're going to be expected to maintain your high standards of practice throughout. And you're also obviously going to need to be good at teamwork throughout medical school as well. So how can you go about demonstrating that you're a good team player in the UCAT? Well, in this video we're going to be going through the key things to bear in mind when it comes to teamwork type questions in the situational judgment test. We're going to go through an example practice question together, and we're also going to look at where students tend to go wrong when it comes to these questions. First of all, let's go through some key points that you should remember when you're approaching situational judgment questions. So one of the first things that you should do when you get to these questions is actually recognize your role in that scenario, and then use that information to guide your response to the question. And this is particularly important to help you realize when it's advisable to seek senior help. You should always make sure that you treat all members of the team with the same degree of respect and politeness, and you should never respond to someone differently because you see them as less important than a doctor, because that's just not the case. And all members of the team are equally important and contribute to the functioning of the team. Also, don't gossip or spread information about team members that would be better kept private. If there's some sort of a problem, make sure that you address it with that person first, and you should do this privately in a suitable place where both of you feel comfortable. And remember that being part of a team is making sure that you can work efficiently, so don't take on any unnecessary responsibilities or overwork yourself. Now that we've gone through all of that, which may seem like common sense, but it's a good thing to go through, we can try a practice question together. So I've got the question down here in front of me. I'll also pop it on the screen here next to me so you can see it. And let's get started. So you're working with two other medical students on an important end of year presentation. You know that if the presentation goes well, you'll secure a high mark for the class. However, one of your fellow students is not providing any input and repeatedly failing to meet deadlines. They have recently begun missing your group meetings as well, and as such you're struggling to keep the project on track. How appropriate is the following response? Speak to the student in private and explore what's causing their behaviour. So let's think about how we should approach this scenario. So first of all, as we said before, let's have a think about what our role is. So we're a medical student, and our team member colleagues are also medical students, so that means that we're all equal. So in theory, that should mean that we should be able to speak easily to each other, and we should be able to figure things out without needing to involve senior figures. However, on the other hand, it might be difficult to find a clear path through a problem when there's actually no clear team leader. So in these situations, you should look for an option that's going to show respect to that student, but it's also going to show a willingness to take initiative. And likely that's going to look something like speaking to the student politely and exploring the reasons for their recent lack of input. Remember to try and find an option that uses positive and progressive wording, such as explore and resolution, rather than wording that could be construed as negative. And whatever you do, don't take over your other team members' work if that could possibly compromise your own work or your mental health. So in these sorts of situations, you're going to have to use your own judgment when it comes to that. So actually, if we bear all that in mind, The option that we were presented with for this question stem, which is speak to the student in private and explore what's causing their behaviour, is a very appropriate thing to do. One of the most important things to remember, which is echoing some of the things that we've just gone through in this question, is that you are most valuable as a team member when you're well, you're rested, you're healthy, and you're able to function effectively. That means making sure that teamwork is divided fairly and that you find constructive solutions for people who may be struggling. All too often, students will think that doing someone else's work for them or working 2 or 3 hours overtime is sensible because we tend to do that anyway, but it's not. Instead, what we should do is try to help the team member who's struggling to find efficient help for them and their problem. And in the long run, that's going to make the team function much more cohesively and efficiently. So in this video, we have gone through important things to consider when you're presented with teamwork type questions in the situational judgment section. We've gone through an example together, and we've also talked about where students tend to go wrong with these questions. So hopefully now you feel a lot more confident with tackling these question types.